to another episode of My Best Friend's an Engineer. I'm Lexi.
And I'm Libby.
And today we're going to spill the tea on all of our engineering undergrad classes. So we're going to talk about our favorite and least favorite classes, some tips we have for you, and some courses that we still use in industry today. Thank God. Okay, that was good. We can just cut that.
That one worked.
We've recorded that 4 times, so I don't know why. I just get nervous. I was like talking, I was like, oh my God.
4 times the charm.
Yeah, right? Okay.
And this is good because we come from 2 different perspectives in that I'm mechanical engineering and Lexi is chemical engineering. So we try to do our best to bring on guests of other disciplines, but today we're going to stick with the 2 that we know best.
Yes, and we'll give a little overview on different concentrations that we had the opportunity to potentially pursue at school, just to give you some background. Yeah, but before we get into that, how has your week been, Libby?
Oh, it's been good. I should have prepared more for this. I started listening to 2 new podcasts I found. I don't even know how I found them. But one of them is On Purpose with Jay Shetty, and it's this guy who, lived as a monk, and now he's not a monk anymore, but I don't know. Podcasts are really good. The topics are, 5 ways that you can, be less stressed, and, sleeping full 8 hours really does help for your mental health, episodes like that.
Who'da thunk?
So that's
good. Not me.
I'm I need some calming things to listen to at work, and so I'm listening to that. And then also the other one I found was called The Diary of a CEO, and it's this guy who I guess interviews CEOs or influential people or whatever. But I listened to an episode where he brought on and I don't know the name of the guy, but it was the sports enhancement trainer for Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, and he I don't know what he did, but he basically was a personal trainer for them, I think, based on just my short knowledge of listening to the episode. And I don't know, he's just a really cool perspective of what it was like to work with these superstar athletes. So yeah, that's been good. I am still getting I think I'm finally getting a little bit more used to work. Encountering new experiences every day that I've never encountered before, and planted some flowers in the front yard that I'm pretty sure are already dead. So
I saw that.
I'm doing that.
Oh, yeah, very exciting. You'll have to post some pictures. What colors did you choose?
Yeah, I did dark purple and white flowers, and then some green bushes. And after I planted them, I was like, I wonder how long, how much I need to water these. I think every day. And Brett was like, you didn't keep the little cards that are in each pot? And I was like, I thought that was just a picture of the plants. And he was like, no. He was like, how are you going to know how to take care of them? And I was like, I don't know. I thought I just had to water them. So
you're just going to do it the engineering way, the trial and error way. Trial and error, honestly. Make a little hypothesis, say every day water, and then we'll see. We'll test it out.
I know. I really wanted to be a cute summer flower girly with my front yard, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But yeah, that's been my week. How's your week been?
It was good. So not too bad, not too busy. Do you ever have those weeks where I feel like everyone else, their weeks go very busy in the beginning, and then it gets less busy as you go on? I feel like this week it was very, very not busy in the beginning, and then Friday it was just so many emails coming through, so many things
really
on fire. Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was because I was on site too.
Wait, that's so surprising because of the holiday too.
I know. It was and then we had to hop on so many meetings, and some guy made a little comment. He's like, oh, I can check I can work on this in between barbecues. I was like, oh, I don't want to work on this in between barbecues.
You were work-life balance, my man.
Yeah, I was like, oh. Everyone kind of chuckled, to give him a little sympathy chuckle, but I'm like, I hope no one else is. I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I'll. So yeah, but I'm up at the lake now for this weekend. So I did bring my work laptop because I came straight after going to site. So, but we'll see. I'm interested to see if he's really sending emails in between his little barbecue. So
Yeah.
hot dog in hand.
Yeah, there was.
This validation is wrong.
He sent a selfie.
Yeah. So
When I went to work on Friday, there was nobody there, and I think it was literally just me and my boss, and then one of the mechanical engineers in my group. And the mechanical engineer, she had like a lot of testing to do, so I felt like she was pretty busy. And I think her goal for Friday was just like get the testing done and then leave. But my boss, we had like a one-on-one in the afternoon, and he was like, if I would have known nobody was going to be in the office, I would have just said that we should both just not come in. And I was like, oh, it's fine.
yeah. Yeah, I also had a meeting. I had a meeting set up from 3 to 4. And it was so funny because as soon as I walked,
3 to
yeah.
4 at the end of the day, too.
I know, and especially at like end of the week, like holiday weekend. But it was so funny because I walk in and she's like, honestly, I was thinking to myself, why did I suggest doing this on a Friday? She's like, I really don't want to do this. And we were just laughing. I was like, at least we're on the same page. But I think a lot of people didn't take off Friday, but a lot of people took off Tuesday. So they're like, so I'm hoping next week isn't too, I mean, it's probably going to be the same thing, like easy in the beginning, and then everyone's going to finally catch up to the emails.
Freak
and
out.
Thursday, Friday comes, and I'm like, okay, I'll help. But yeah, so, but honestly not too bad other than that. But I was like, I don't know, I just, like you said, it was a holiday weekend, so I was kind of surprised that yesterday was so busy. But yeah.
That's good. I feel like we're in this really weird time of year where, like, it's almost summer and there's not really much going on. I don't know. I don't know if you feel the same way, but like I feel like in the beginning of the year, like January, everyone has these like goals, New Year's resolutions, like the year is getting started, there's excitement, and I feel like we've kind of reached a lull in the time of year.
Yes, because I think in the beginning, and I think I talked about this on an episode once, like I was asking my boss, I was like, why do we have so many fires coming from every site? We're like, okay, everyone's like, we need, we need support.
I remember you bringing that up.
And he was just saying that everyone gets their budget like approved in the beginning of the year. So I feel like everyone's just slowly losing steam. Things are getting delayed. So, but yeah, I do feel that. I'm like, it's more chill, which is so nice. Especially like, I feel like I've been enjoying working from home just for my April month of travel. I still am not over it. I'm like still just enjoying working from home.
You were gone literally every weekend.
I know.
Like,
and
that's a lot.
It's funny though, because I was like, so into travel. And now I'm like, just, I don't know. I was like, girl can't handle 1 month of travel.
Well, I feel like people that I know from previous companies that were in positions that had a lot of travel, like when I would talk to them about it, they'd be like, yeah, I only could do it for like a year or two because it's just too much traveling. And then, of course, they're all men that I'm talking to, and they're like, and then I wanted to settle down and start a family and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, that's a different topic. But yeah, I feel that.
Awesome. Well, shall we get into...
Should we... We're talking at the exact same time.
I feel like... I hope there's not a lag.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, there you go. I feel like last week there was a little bit of a lag, but I feel like now it's not too bad.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe we were talking at the same time. But... All right,
I guess we can do our due diligence of the episode before we get in, like the typical leave us a review to get entered into the giveaway. Make sure if you do leave us a review, you take a screenshot and you submit it to our Google form. And then our Facebook group, which has over 100 members now. I think we're at like 127.
No, we're at 140. I checked this morning.
Oh my god, 140?
138. I rounded. So.
Oh my gosh, our community is growing.
Yes. So, but make sure you join that group in our Instagram bio link, because sometimes we post like, I don't know if anyone listens to Eli's, like the Jars podcast, or like follows her on TikTok, but she does these Friday, like ask me a question on TikTok, and if she responds to it, she buys you a coffee. I think we're going to try and do that a few times a month and do like the review thing, like the first 3 people to send a screenshot of their review will buy your coffee, which Libby did last week. So nice of you, little saint. So make sure you go check it out. Yes. All right.
Okay.
So Okay, so the title of this review is The Podcast That Keeps My Imp ... Okay, so I think it means imposter. So I'm thinking it's something with... So I'm thinking it's something with imposter syndrome. We're not able to see the title because it's a little long, but I'm assuming it's imposter syndrome. Hopefully it keeps your imposter syndrome down, not up. So... So
what is the review?
This person said, Libby and Lexi give so much value to the world of engineering. Their honesty and personalities truly bring light to so many conversations about being a woman in STEM. They have gained knowledge, insight, and humor from so many of their own stories and those of guests that they have featured. I hope this pod gets to the girls struggling to feel themselves in engineering before it's too late. Us too! Spread the word!
I love that people share stories. Because...
I know.
Share the word.
Sometimes I laugh at some of our jokes, and I'm like, I wonder if they're laughing too. I'm like, I
know. I'm like,
am I laughing too much? Yeah.
People think we're funny.
I know. I'm like, am I laughing too much, or is it not that funny? I'm like, am I just easily amused?
Yeah. Probably a little bit of both.
Right. But that's the way you gotta live life. You gotta be easily amused.
You have to be.
We'll do a lifestyle episode. We'll do all of our little spiels. You gotta be easily amused, ladies.
We should. We should. Okay, this person, again, this review says, love the woman in STEM motive. I think they're saying, love the woman in STEM motivation.
For sure.
I don't know, on Apple Podcasts, you can't, expand you can't expand the title of a review, so I'm assuming that's what it says. But this review says, 5-star review, thank you so much for the 5 stars. And they say, I'm a first-year mechanical engineering major, and I have loved all the tips for everything to do with engineering. Well, hopefully you'll get a little bit more tips, knowledge, and value out of this particular episode if you are a mechanical engineering major, because we're going to go through my experience with mechanical engineering, and especially, if you're a freshman. First of all, I'm jealous that you're a freshman. I don't know that I would go back and do all the coursework again, but I would definitely go back and be a freshman in college again. I don't know about you, Lexi.
Oh, 100%. When life was easy. Just kidding. It's not saying life is bad now. They're listening to this, they're like, oh God.
Yeah.
Is this the best it's gonna get?
Remember when we lived off campus and sometimes we would walk to class and walk on campus and we would be like, oh, I miss living in a dorm. I miss living in a dorm sometimes.
Honestly, me too.
Not all the time.
But I also think about the food options we had, and they were just so I feel like I'm so much healthier now than I was freshman, sophomore year, because one, you have only these options that they give you. Two, you have no time to deal with. I guess we can actually add that in some tips for how to deal with life things while you're taking these courses, since we're kind of talking about that. But you don't really have time to focus on that. I don't know, personally I was always just heat up something really fast and then whatever, don't even think about it, but
I'm pretty sure I had a solid steady diet in my freshman year of eating ramen noodles and goldfish. Yeah. And Sprite and chugging Sprite, and that was my diet a lot of times, and that is not healthy or good for you.
I remember mine. I liked the eggs on campus, and then I would always have
eggs.
Yeah, for breakfast. I'm thinking
at Pulley Diner.
Yeah. Oh no, that was too upper echelon. That was where they actually cooked it for you. I'm talking about the buffet, dining hall. So I liked those, but then
okay.
I feel like I eat something for every single day, and then I get so sick of it. So then I if you gave me those eggs right now, I can't. I'd get nauseous.
Yeah.
But they'd always have French toast, so I would always splurge on that, and I'm like, okay. So I got a little chunky in the middle there.
I loved the dining hall food.
It was good.
I would go and I would sit there for hours, and I would just keep eating. I would eat really slowly, and I would try to have as many things in the dining hall as possible, because I was okay, I'm paying my one swipe to get into the dining hall, so I'm gonna make the most of every single swipe.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna try to eat as much as I can.
Did you ever take food out of the dining hall and like try to eat it later?
Oh yeah. I used to bring little to-go containers in like Tupperware, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and I would fill them with fruit and bring them back to my room.
That's
But
smart.
usually then once I got back to my room, I'd eat them. So then the fruit is gone
Yeah.
anyway.
Honestly, I would do that, but I'd forget about it. I would just like throw it out the next few days because I'd be like, why
Mm-hmm.
didn't I, like, why do I do it? I always did it. I was like, oh, maybe I need it for later. It's like, girl, you never eat it. So, wishful
Yeah.
thinking. But,
Okay. Wishful thinking. Okay, I think we have a couple topics we want to touch on for this episode. So, do we want to maybe start with an overview of like the courses we took when we both went to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, and we both went through an ABET accredited program. So, this I guess explanation that we're going to give on each course is probably pretty much the same for every ABET accredited university, wouldn't you say?
yes, I think so. And we kind of talked about like explaining what that means in our last episode. So, if you want more detail about it, go check it out. I'm just trying to get to. So we have
Definitely.
all of our. So your school probably has like a little bulletin, where it lists all the courses you need, just to give. I don't know. I feel like that's usual. So ours is called like Miami University
Yeah.
Chemical Engineering Bulletin. So that's what we're looking at right now. I'm just trying to see if there's somewhere that lists all the tech electives, like chemical
Oh.
engineering, Miami University concentration.
Mine
Let's
has
see.
technical electives pulled up. Like mine has like it'll say core and then there's one that says technical electives. Select one of the following courses for a minimum of 3 credit hours. And you need 3 of them.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
guess we could
so
touch on
I
those.
found mine. So do you want to go first?
Okay.
Or do you want, how do you
Um
want to?
okay,
All right,
so
tell us about your classes.
yeah, so when you just and I just did this by Googling, like we said, Miami University Mechanical Engineering Bulletin. I unfortunately don't have my transcript. I don't even know how I would find my transcript nowadays. I'd probably have to do some digging through the online, like Miami portal. So this will just provide like a high level overview of what you need. So program requirements, mechanical engineering degree requires 127 semester hours. That is so freaking much. I can't believe that I did that. But with any engineering degree, you're gonna start off with like your basic gen eds. So like I had to take chemistry and chem lab. I had to take intro to economics, calculus 1 and 2. I think calculus 3 was optional, or like if you had a minor in calculus or a minor in math, you took calculus 3, but I personally didn't take calculus 3. And then of course physics and statistics. And then so those are the classes that like usually you would take your freshman year. Another kind of interesting one that I think is really applicable to like world experience was technical writing. Lexi, did you have to take that one?
Oh yes, yeah. And I know we want to talk about which classes we kind of use in industry, but I feel like for both of us
Yeah.
that's definitely like everyone thinks it's such like a blow off course, which sometimes it is. It depends on your teacher. But I was also going to touch on like for example, I took Chem Lab and that's where I wrote some of these reports, like the formal lab reports, which also kind of aligned with technical writing and those, 2 courses definitely helped me a lot in industry, but that's a little
Yeah.
spoiler.
Okay. Yeah, I can bring that up when we touch on like what we did and didn't use in our jobs. But okay, so those general classes are like pretty much what you're gonna take your freshman year. Then at Miami, I don't know how other schools do it, but we have like a numbering system from like 100s or like in your major it probably starts off with 200 level courses and then it goes up to 400 level courses and then I think if you're going to get your masters you're in the 500 levels. So in your sophomore year you're going to be taking mostly 200 level classes and for me that was intro to Electrical engineering. Ugh, I hate electrical engineering. No offense to anyone who's an electrical engineer. Statics, engineering materials, dynamics, mechanics of materials, fluid mechanics, thermodynamics. Something that I guess now that I'm reading through this list, I didn't really realize while I was in college is this is such a broad overview of everything that you can possibly do with your engineering degree. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why engineering degrees are so hard is because you like learn this large breadth of knowledge. But like in real life, you're going to be specializing most likely on one thing. And so I just want to touch on that.
Yeah. And I feel like even with like if you have a degree in like maybe liberal arts or like economics, like finance as well, you still do these broad classes. But I think with engineering, like electrical engineering, like you said, it's very hard, but we're still learning it, you know, even if you don't use it, but it's just such a hard subject. So that's why it makes it so hard. So like, you know, even other majors may have this variety of courses and just broad classes, but for us, I feel like if you get like a tidbit of every single, you know, aspect, it's just so hard, you know? It's just like learning a completely new like language. I guess.
Literally.
That's my take on it. So
and I think we spoke with I don't remember what episode this was, but we spoke with Kat in one of the episodes, and she majored in electrical engineering, and she was saying like what mechanical engineers have to take for electrical engineering requirements, like for example, I just take 2 courses, is like they will take one, I guess, unit that we might learn, for example, and that is like literally one class for them in electrical engineering, or like that's how I understand it. So I think that's another thing to kind of touch on is if you have to take classes that are like outside of your normal major, I don't know. I personally just found those to be harder. So I think the only ones that were outside my normal major were those ECE or electrical engineering classes. Engineering, economics, and heat transfer say that they're also CPB. What is CPB again, Lexi? Is that bio?
I think so, yeah. It's the, like, it's, yeah, no, it definitely is. It's chemical, engineering, and biomedical is what are, like, things. That's where the B comes from. I don't know what the P is. Programming, or maybe, like, I don't know.
I don't remember.
Let's see. If I click on it, will it tell me? CPB? No, it doesn't. It doesn't give me that. It's okay. But it's basically biology. Like, it's biomedical. That's what the B stands for. C is probably for chemical. So P, I don't know. You fill in the blank.
Do you think I should keep reading down this list, or what are your thoughts?
I feel like we shouldn't just read off the list. Maybe like give an overview. That was nice how you had it like every year.
Okay, so that's kind of like sophomore year maybe. I don't know. It's tough because the way that it's split up online is into core requirements, engineering science, and then mechanical engineering core. But maybe I can touch on junior year. I think I took like heat transfer. Also junior year, I took a semester off to do a co-op. So I only took like 4 or 5 classes junior year, but I think I took engineering economics my junior year. Manufacturing processes, I took sophomore year. That was a really fun class. And then getting into senior year, I actually loved my senior year classes. Senior year classes, I took thermodynamics 2. What else did I take? Vibrations. Vibrations was a really hard class, but honestly, like, really interesting to me. And I had, like, a really, like, I don't know, reasonable method to solve problems, in my opinion. What else did I like? Control of dynamic systems. That was a really cool course. Control of dynamic systems was the last class in the, like, electrical engineering, like, branch of classes. So it went ECE 205, which was electrical circuit analysis 1, And then you had to take another ECE class, which I don't remember what the name of it was, but you had to take another ECE class. And then the last one was this MME, and again, these are just the abbreviations for the classes, but MME 436. And that's where they described it as electrical engineering concepts meets mechanical engineering concepts. So yeah, I really liked that class. What else? I guess senior year, I also had a senior design project where I worked with a company to do a big project, and that was a really cool one. And then we also had to do outside of, like, I think we had to do some, like, diversity type. What is happening? Was that my phone?
I think so. It wasn't.
I do not know why my phone just started dinging. Okay. Anyway.
I was going to say,
we had to take some, like...
I was going to say, you probably liked that one last electrical engineering course because it connected both. Like, it started going into actually what is applicable to your focus, like with the mechanical engineering aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't even remember what it actually was, but I just remember it was a lot of problem solving where you would, like, take up a whiteboard type of thing and go through equations, and I don't know, that type of like coursework I just really found, like, it made sense because you used an equation, you knew how to find the like variables in the problem, and then it was kind of like a plug and chug method to solve, like, every problem. So I liked that one. We had to take some technical electives as well. I don't remember how many. I think we had to take 3. It says, it says right here, 3. Okay, I just need to read the page. Whoops. I took some really cool tech electives. One that I found really interesting was manufacturing design, which is kind of ironic because now my current job, I work with, it's new product development, but a big aspect of new product development is, like, manufacturing easeability and, like, how can you take a new product and make it, like, I guess, quote unquote easy or systematic for a group of line workers to assemble. So I think I really liked that class, and I think that's probably why. And yeah, I liked our technical electives. You literally could just kind of, like, choose whatever you wanted. A lot of people in mechanical engineering would take the manufacturing route, because I feel like manufacturing engineering kind of goes hand in hand with mechanical. We had a lot of people in Theta Tau that would either double major or major in mechanical engineering and minor in manufacturing engineering, and that's kind of, like, the route. I know, Lexi, we want to touch on, like, concentrations. I don't know like what the actual concentrations were for mechanical engineering at Miami, but I would definitely say, like, you could definitely make your classes more in the manufacturing side of things, which is what I ended up doing.
Very nice.
I think that pretty much sums up like a little bit of an overview. Like I mentioned, your freshman year and your sophomore year are going to be a lot of, like, intro classes, gen ed classes. You cover a very wide breadth of material, everything from vibrating systems to how heat is transferred in a system, heat transfer, to things dealing with engines, like thermodynamic type problems. You deal with fluids. So if you can think of, like, fluids of liquids and fluids of air, and, like, maybe in plumbing applications. I'm trying to give, like, a good couple chunks of what my classes all were sectioned into. I think that's kind of how I would frame it up.
Nice. Very nice. That was kind of interesting because I have never, like, I feel like we never talked about it. Like, I knew what classes you were always taking. Like, I'd come back, like, I'd come home and I'd be like, oh, how's, this XYZ? But, like, I never, like, had the whole overview, though. So, splendid. So splendid.
Yeah, so tell us about chemical, because I don't think, yeah, like you said, I've never talked to you about kind of the order in which you had to take your courses.
Yes. So I feel like with chemical, it's very similar in the beginning to the pre-med courses. And I touched on this before. I did all the pre-med classes and my concentration was biochemical. So, the first 2 years, it looked like college chem, every year. So I did Gen Chem 1, Gen Chem 2, then Orgo 1, Orgo 2. And then in between those, I did Calc 1, Calc 2. Like you said, I didn't have to take Calc 3 either. I feel like it was more if you were maybe concentrating in like bioinformatics was an option or like a minor option. So I didn't take that one. Took DiffyQ. I loved it. It was so fun.
I
Applied
liked DiffyQ.
stats. Yeah, it was fun. It was like it was just easy. It was just like, this is what you gotta do.
Yeah.
I actually liked my teacher too. And I know that we talked in our last episode about how the professor, plays a big part into how you actually like it, but definitely does. So then we had the intro to chem engineering. So that was my second semester freshman year. And then going into, I actually took a few MME courses. So the engineering thermo was an MME course, and then I took statics as well. Engineering econ was considered an MME course. And I wanted to also touch on the fact that I took some of these classes online during the breaks. So this was mostly like my sophomore, junior year, because again, we talked about research that took up a lot of my time. So I also was like, so we have J-term. So that's in between our fall semester and spring semester. So it's 6 weeks. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be useful with my time and might as well take, some of these classes. So
Yeah, it's like you might as well. Yeah.
Exactly. So I would definitely look into that if you're starting out in undergrad, because that really helped, lessen the load, first of all, during the semester, as well as open up time for other stuff that helped my resume, for example, research. So I took Thermo online. I took engineering econ online. I'm trying to think what else. And then I remember I also took biomaterials online, which is a tech elective. So my concentration was biochemical. And to give a little overview, you can do concentrations in biochemical, environmental, or paper engineering, or you could do general chemical engineering. So I'm looking right now on the website, though, like we talked about the bulletin, and biomaterials isn't an option for a tech elective, but fundamentals of medical device design is. So it's like interesting how they change, because I would have loved to take a fundamentals of medical device design. Like that would have been so helpful for my current industry.
Yeah, that's literally what you're doing, right? You're like in medical devices.
So I started taking these tech electives. They're mainly 400 levels. So I feel like the electives get more applicable again once you pick your concentration, once you get those fundamental courses out of the way. So for my tech electives, it was CPB 416, which was biochemical engineering. Very, very general. Love that. Name of my major. But then I took 417, which was biomedical engineering. And then I know 418 was biomaterials. And then I also took biochemistry. And that was like a 300 level course. But other than that, I had to take courses. So I took Thermo, which was the MME Thermo, but I also took chemical engineering thermodynamics, which I loved personally. I don't know why. I think just it was a very good professor. I liked the textbook. I liked the textbook. So I don't know. It flowed nicely. I liked it. I also had to take mass transfer, chemical kinetics, and reactor design. I actually really liked that course as well, because I just feel like it was just basic chemistry. And it was just like in more detail. It was like perfect, easy. And then I took chemical process safety, which was a 1-credit course. It was interesting because the professor that taught that was his first course he ever taught. And it was mostly him just talking about his life experiences in industry. I think he works in industry for like 25 years. Yeah. So he's like, don't do this and do this. And he's like, oh, I had some dumb guy do this once, so don't do that. I was like, okay. So it was interesting, but it just didn't really feel like a course. It was like more of like a seminar feel. And then I took process control and then chemical process design. They were taught by the same professor. I didn't really like that one because I feel like the class wasn't structured very well. I feel like the professor had a lot going on. I was able to learn how to use ChemCAD though, so that was kind of helpful. And then I also took chemical and bioengineering computation, which was the MATLAB class, which I've talked about that before. Terrible. So yeah, and then unit operations, and that was where it was mostly, unit ops. It was literally just a lab course. So it was working with bigger pumps, working with like some of the paper machines. So that was pretty cool. But that one actually felt like you were working more in industry stuff, because it was very hands-on. And then a few of the fundamentals, it was mass and energy balances. We had mass and energy balances 1 and 2. So that's literally the basics of chemical engineering. But I'm trying to see what else. And then physics, of course. And then we wanted to talk more about technical writing, but had to take that one. And then a lot of my gen ed, so like it was like English, history. I took those online as well, but I took them online during the semester. So I would also look into seeing if you had that option, because I was thinking, okay, what's the point? Like, I'd rather do asynchronous and, like, if I had time at night, catch up on stuff and, like, kind of focus on the engineering courses. Not saying those classes aren't important, but I don't know. I was a big advocate of looking to see if it was online first, just so I could, again, we talked about research. Like, I was there till 3 a.m. sometimes, so it just depended. So it was better to have a more flexible schedule for me, so. But yeah, so that's my spiel of all the I hope that was structured. I feel like it's so hard to talk about 4 years of stuff.
I know.
I'm like, how do I even?
Especially when you don't have like a visual to like walk someone through.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so hard to just talk. But would you say like, because I want to clarify quickly, because I know we both said that there were courses that we both liked. I want to say though that even though I'm saying that, oh, I liked them, or like, oh, it made sense to me the way I solved the problems, that does not mean they were easy. Like,
Yeah, no.
it just meant that I don't know, like I just, even though like heat transfer, I literally would pull an all-nighter every night before exams. I would go be so nervous for exams, but I think I liked it because the like material we were learning made sense, and I liked the professor. So like, I don't know, the work to study, like, I don't know, I could justify it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't mean they were just like easy classes, like, oh, we liked them, like they,
Yeah,
whatever.
no, definitely. I completely agree. Like for biochem, that was one of mine. So I loved it just because it was so refreshing, because it was like a mix of, biology and chemistry. And then, I don't know, it was more memorization, but I liked the material, but I was so nervous because you would have to learn all these cycles. Like it was like, learn this Krebs cycle, learn about glycolysis, all these different things that you have to memorize every single, like, how many electrons go into each aspect of the process.
I don't know how you did that.
Yeah, and so I was just so nervous, but it was fun. Like, I still not saying it was fun, but it was like,
yeah,
I was like looking more forward to that than these other classes. Like, if I had to sit on a ChemCAD software project for like hours, sad. I was so sad. I hated that software, but it was good to learn. So I know I talked about that. Yeah, I talk about how I'm happy. I mean, I am happy I learned it, but like, I'd rather choose to write on a whiteboard memorizing things than sit there figuring out why my little bioreactor on my ChemCAD is not giving me any answers. But and that's one thing we wanted to do, an aspect, like a section of this episode of tips for how to deal with these courses. So I won't get into too much detail, just like comparing like the engineering problem solving versus like the pre-med memorization classes till then. But if we are done with our 4-year spiels, do we want to go into what courses we kind of use and don't use in our day-to-day?
Yeah, so we mentioned a couple episodes ago that we did a presentation for Society of Women Engineers to a group of Girl Scouts, and we had put together slides of like classes we don't use and classes we do use. So these are just a couple. I'm sure are more that I do use and there are more that I don't use, but for the sake of this episode, we'll just kind of talk through them. So I'll start off with classes that I do not use. So I don't really do too much calculus on a day-to-day basis, like so calculus 1 and 2. I think if I were to have to solve problems though, and need calculus. I think the point of a lot of these engineering classes is that you have that background and you have the textbook and you can always reference it if you ever were to need it again. But so far, I've not had experience where I'm sitting down and I'm like solving for a derivative or something like that.
Not in your free
Applied
time?
statistics,
Sorry.
maybe sometimes when studying for the FE, but that's it. Statistics, I would say that this applied statistics STA 301 was a specific course that you had to take. I think calculus 1 was a prereq, so it was solving a lot of statistic-based problems with calculus. I don't specifically do that, but I would say maybe statistics that is more related to a manufacturing environment is something that I will look at sometimes. Another class I don't use, chemistry. I never have used the knowledge that I gained in chemistry, I don't think. And certainly I'm not doing any sort of chem labs or anything like that in my, job post-grad. And then just a few more statics. I don't really use statics. Like when you think of a typical statics problem that, where you have all the trusses or whatever, and you have like the forces and the moments and stuff. Like I'm not sitting down and going through and actually solving a problem like that. And again, kind of like with calculus and the statistics, I just need that knowledge in the back of my head to make educated decisions. And same with mechanics and materials. Lexi, do you want to go through the ones that you don't use, or do you want me to just move on to the ones I do use and then we'll go on to you?
I say you say the ones that you use so we can like compare them right away. So it's fresh in our minds. So yeah, those are like an overview of classes I definitely don't use. I like to tell people that an engineering degree kind of gives you like the engineering common sense. I think someone in my first co-op told me that when I asked them what it was like to work at the company as an engineer. It gives you the engineering common sense to solve problems in the real world. But, you're not gonna, working post-grad isn't gonna be like opening a textbook and reading out problems and writing down like the variables and, writing out the equation. I mean, maybe sometimes, but, not so cut and dry like how it is in college. So I guess classes that I do use daily: manufacturing processes. That's, I think that was a tech elective maybe. Again, I loved that class. I found it so interesting. The company I work for now, in their manufacturing facility, they're big on like lean manufacturing, doing Kaizen events, stuff like that. So that is definitely something I learned. Thermo and heat transfer. I needed to use that knowledge a lot in my previous job when I was working with power plants, because the stuff that you learn in thermo and heat transfer is like essentially everything that makes up like a steam turbine system. So I used those a lot. And then technical writing is one that I use every single day. I think it's such an underrated class because, like Lexi mentioned, it's one you like think like you can kind of just blow off or whatever, and it's like, oh, why would I need to know technical writing? Like everyone knows how to write. But whether it's putting together a PowerPoint presentation with data and results of testing, or trying to like write out a clear and concise email to give like group members an update, or like writing, in my last job I did a lot of proposal writing, so writing out a scope of work for a job. You use technical writing a lot in like an engineering job setting. Yeah, definitely. And one thing I wanted to, since we're talking about how much we love technical engineering 313, I actually was asked when I was interviewing for jobs for my second role, it was a deviation investigator or something. So basically, like in the manufacturing process, we have these deviations, like in med device, I'm sure same verbiage used in your industry as well, when something is like non-conforming to the specs. So basically, you would have to write the investigation, which includes what the problem is, the investigation of the root cause, determine the impact, and then determine the path forward. So it's a lot of technical writing. So I was actually asked before the interview if I had any samples of technical writing that I could provide, which I already got so I already got the offer. This job was in Massachusetts. It was actually pretty cool. It was with Pfizer. I could probably say that. So I was pretty excited about it. It was in Massachusetts, though. That was the only downside. And like I was pretty far in the interview process, but I was like, do I really want to move to Massachusetts? And then I was like, oh, it's Pfizer. I'm like, I would. But then I'm like, do I really want to? And then I ended up getting this offer closer. Yeah. And then I ended up getting this offer. So it was irrelevant. But I was asked. So for that, I mentioned my publication because I didn't really have any examples. So I remember I was traveling for work. This is when I had my first job. So I didn't have my personal laptop. So I only took my work laptop because I eventually realized I don't have that much time to just sit on my laptop. So when he asked it for 2 days later for a conversation in 2 days. So I was like, oh, well, I'm traveling for work. I don't have anything on this laptop, but I can provide it when I get back. But if you want any reference, I have a publication. And then I listed the title because that you can find anywhere. So basically, long story short, I would keep these projects or these papers that you write in your technical writing courses, or any lab reports that you write as well. Because some
That's a good
jobs,
point. I never even thought about that.
I know. I was so surprised when he asked. But he said it was no problem. I mean, he was like, oh, okay, I only give you a 2-day notice, no problem. But luckily I had that publication that's, posted. But one thing I wanted to say. So I digress. Carry on.
Yeah. That's a good point. Well, no, I think I'm done with that. Do you want to go into the classes you don't use and do use in your job?
Yes. Let's see. Okay, so you started with don't use, so I'll do the same. Engineering econ. Let me start there. So I don't use that. I actually think it'd be a little bit interesting to start getting onto the business side of things. Making these maybe business proposals or working with these acquisitions for these
capital
sites.
Purchases
yeah,
too.
I think that would be so interesting. So maybe eventually I will use it. But right now I really want to focus on getting that technical knowledge. And I mentioned to my boss, I was like, I want to stay in this technical role. I honestly don't know for how long. I could see myself in it for a couple more years. I feel again, you said, you're always dealing with something new. So I like having that. So to build up my knowledge eventually to get in a manager position. So I don't use that currently, but again, who knows? I do not use mass transfer. Like you said, that class gave me the knowledge.
It's not your favorite course.
I did not like that. It gave me the knowledge to be able to, consider these unit ops and this equipment, but I do not use all the little, what is that, fluxes? Oh, it's I forgot the name of that law. It's some flux
You're
law.
getting PTSD right now.
Yeah, I'm oh my gosh. So I don't use that. Calc 1, Calc 2. Again, I'm not doing derivatives. I don't do it for fun. Not, not
you don't say.
Statics as well. I do not use. I am really sad I had to take that course. I did not really have a lot of fun there. It was fine, but the professor was, it was a woman. It was a female professor, and she was just not very nice. I think we had this. No, I think we had the same. I think we had the same. I know that you said you had a woman. We won't say her name, but she was not very nice.
Oh.
That's the woman I had. So that's
I did have her. She was not. She was not a nice professor.
Yeah. So to give some background, I think Libby wore sorority letters. Maybe it was Theta Tau letters, and then she made a comment about her wearing her sorority letters in an engineering course. So I never wore any letters to that class at all. I said, thank God she gave me the heads up.
I wore a Pi sweatshirt, and she made a comment one day as I was turning in homework or something, and she was like, maybe you would be better off focusing more on your sorority than your homework or your grades because you clearly don't care about them or something like that.
Yeah, she was not very nice. What? Yeah. So I never wore letters. I was a little, I had stickers on my laptop. I just wouldn't take my laptop out. I was paper and pen kind of girl. She's probably oh my God, this girl's old school. Yeah, I am. If you talk to people like that, of course I will be. But so I think it was actually interesting because again, this is not something that I usually learn about, but I just think it was a lot of the professor input impact. And then the last one is the Chemical and Biocomputation course, which is where I learned MATLAB. I don't use it. I'm sure going into like the classes I use statistics. So kind of connecting it with the MATLAB course, I'm sure I could use MATLAB for some of that stats, but it has never come up. I didn't like the class. I think coding is ridiculous. Give me my bioreactor. I don't want to code. I don't want to code.
Yeah.
So, but flowing into the classes I use, statistics, I have to analyze how our processes have been working, what, especially for validation, you want it to perform with a certain yeah, I was gonna say certain certainty that it'll work, but confidence is better. Yeah, so I use that. I think that was helpful. Chemical process design. This was the course I mentioned that I used ChemCAD for, and ChemCAD I basically was just working with a lot of unit ops, like making this whole if there was a heat exchanger, then I would do like a distillation column, blah blah blah, all this stuff. So I think that helped me understand the whole process. So because like when I validate, sometimes you have to look at all these different unit ops and not just one equipment. Speaking of unit ops, unit operations laboratory, that's the that's the one I talked about. It was very hands-on, which I really liked, working with all these different types of equipments and different projects, which was actually kind of interesting because it was like a different project every week. So I liked that.
In your class?
Mm-hmm. So that was kind of cool.
Oh, that did sound interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Gen Chem 1 and 2, and like going along with this, the Gen Chem Lab. So the lab, just in the aspect of, again, I know some of these processes. So actually for validation, I have to understand the testing that goes behind some of this stuff. So, I have to understand the basics. I'm not doing the testing, but it definitely helps to understand it. So that helps, as well as like the writing aspect. And that goes along with my last one being technical writing. We love her. So that's kind of what I use. And again, like Libby says, I'm not, too much in a technical role, but this really just gave me the background to understand the process of what I'm dealing with. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think like anyone who goes and gets their engineering degree, you are set up to have this set of skills for how to solve problems. So even if, I don't know, like if you're worried about, I'm not very good at this one subject or this class and I'm not sure how I'm going to use it in the real world, like you'll figure it out and you'll find the right employer, you'll find mentors, like it'll all work out. Don't worry. If it worked out for us, it'll work out for you.
Yes. Awesome. So we hope that kind of gave a little background of what we use on a day-to-day. I know that sometimes again, like you said, I was a little stressed. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to be able to do this in a role? Like, and I'm like, no way. I'm bringing my textbook with me. That's my new office decoration. But,
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar, again, your employer, you can reach out to them and ask for any trainings or any, other books or references that might help figure it out a little bit more than your classes did. So if you're still, freaking out about that, do not worry. They're all about training employees.
Yeah.
Many companies are willing to offer that.
And if you are freaking out, I think we are ready to give some tips for, just how we fared through these engineering courses and, what we did to walk down the graduation stage and get our diploma.
Or log in, because I did not do that. Also, I liked that transition. That was very nice. You just pulled that and you're like, let's go talk about the tips.
You see what I did there?
Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't walk down the aisle. I walked down
down the aisle.
You
didn't get married to your engineering degree.
My family room hallway to the TV, and then we turned it on and they said, good job. I said, thank you.
You said thanks.
And then I went upstairs. It was weird. Whatever, we can talk about that later. But yes, okay, so some tips. Speaking about graduating, wow, look at these transitions. Speaking about graduating when it was COVID prime time, Zoom lectures I actually really enjoyed. So a lot of people, I feel like they were kind of nervous, how am I going to do an engineering degree online? I loved it because you could just literally pause the video, understand it, and then, play it back. So I thought that was helpful.
Yeah.
But if you, now classes are more in person, if your lecture is in person, I would recommend, this might be weird, but asking if you can record it. So this one was really prevalent in my pre-med courses. So, Orgo 1, first row, all these people had recorders. Or like they were videotaping on their iPad.
They did?
Yeah, and I would
Really?
definitely ask permission from the professor before. And like even some of my engineering courses, like the professor said you can totally record this, but just let me know you're recording and ask before. So I just think it's helpful to just be able to listen to it, I don't know, multiple times if you have that opportunity. Because you can literally go on the treadmill and then it's like a podcast. You just listen to them talk, I guess. I don't know. But
that's such a good point.
Yeah, so that was just so prevalent in all these pre-med people, like Gen Chem 1, they were just sitting there with their little recorders. It was funny because they would pull that out of the backpack, just put it on there, click record. It was like, FBI questioning.
I never had anyone in my mechanical engineering classes pull out recorders.
Yeah, well I feel
But that is so smart.
Yeah, I feel like for the engineering courses it was harder because you need because you're mostly doing these problems on a board, the professor's writing out these problems. Mm-hmm. So you mainly probably need an iPad to record the visual, but for these pre-med courses, it was all theory. It was okay, if your alcohol is reacting with I can't even think of any chem questions. They're talking about these ketones, or look at your alkaline and alkaline, all those stuff. So it's more theory,
it's all
I guess.
over my head.
Yeah, you're you could be saying random words, which I am, but someone making
up words and I no idea.
Someone taking Orgo right now. I was like, what did she just say? But yeah, so I think it was easier for those pre-med courses, which again, maybe some of these engineering courses. I think it's more in the weed out classes, like the general ones in the beginning, is where you'll really have that the ability to have the benefit of recording the audio. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, and I would say if you don't have that option, see if your professor is willing to put the notes online. So we had to use Canvas at Miami, and all my professors would write out all the notes for class on printer paper, and they would have one of those projector camera things that you could watch them write on the piece of paper and then it would put it on the boards. And my professors would scan those notes in at the end of every day and upload them. So that way, if you did have to miss one of the classes, you could go through, you could catch up on the notes. And then my recommendation or tip is if you did have to miss a class, schedule time with that professor, be proactive, either show up to their office hours, or I don't know, sometimes that's hard because everybody's going to the office hours. So just reach out to the professor, see if you can schedule a half-hour one-on-one time on their calendar, just go over the notes. That really helped me if I ever had to miss class.
And I feel like nowadays with after the whole COVID situation, well, not after, it's still going on, but after moving online, I feel like a lot of these professors record it anyway. They post their screencasts, or maybe they record their lectures. So maybe you'll get lucky and have a professor that does that. And then, because they probably want to avoid all those people who have to miss, avoid planning. I don't know. In my opinion, that would be the most efficient way. But yes, going off of that, office hours, I definitely recommend. I have a fun story of office hours that I wanted to kind of break up because I feel like this would have been a very technical, we're talking about so much technical stuff.
What happened?
So this is my freshman year, first semester. This is Calc 1. So I go to my office hours and
setting the scene, setting the stage.
It is let me set the scene. It's a very old building, grimy, smelly, skunky. It was it was the math building. I was they have no funding. They're it's just in the corner of campus. I was oh my god, I'm sweaty walking.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah. So I used to consistently go to office hours, just because I was freshman year, I want to be a goody two shoes, blah blah. There was one time, and so my professor, he was kind of young. And he was kind of cute, honestly. But, so this is why I got stressed in this situation. So, he goes, one day when I'm leaving the office hour, he goes, do you have a boyfriend? I go, oh my god, it's happening. I was you hear in those movies, it's where the... And I'm oh god. And I'm what do I say? I was oh my god. I was no. It's why can't I just lie? And then he tried to set me up with one of his students. And he's like, oh, this guy, because there was this guy that came in before class every single day, and he's like, oh, well, he thinks you're very pretty, and, you know, he's single as well.
What?
I was like, oh.
He was trying to play matchmaker?
Yeah, it was so weird, and the guy was shorter than me. I was like, oh, he's great, but I'm not interested. And like, because I would always sit, I would always also sit in the first row. So this is giving a lot about my personality. Very type A, very like, you know. And so he would always come in because his next course or class was like probably next door, and he had him the year before. So he would always come in, say hi, like talk to the professor. And then I guess he just noticed me sitting there in this front row and then just made a comment, which is so weird. And it's so weird for that professor to have said that. I like avoided going to office hours after that. I felt like so awkward. I was like, this is weird.
You're like, I'm deucing out. I'm not.
Yeah. But I was like, before he said that, I was like, what's going to happen? I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is it. I was like, this.
What if he was like, will you be my girlfriend?
I would have been like, oh my gosh, this is a movie. I was like, where are the cameras?
This is a movie. You're like, I'm just one of those shows where you get scooped.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm just trying to learn about limits, man. I was like, this limit has been crossed.
Literally. Oh my gosh, that is surreal. I've never had a professor do that before.
It was so weird.
I'm sure he had like good intentions, but that is weird.
Yeah, he probably thought we were like friends. Like, I feel like I am a very talkative person. Like, I try to, but I was like, oh my God, it's just me being nice. I was like, oh, it was like, I'm just trying to understand these little L'Hopital, or I think L'Hopital is a difficult. What's the other? I'm just trying to learn all these little.
I think L'Hopital's role was in Calc.
Calc 1.
That was when you did a derivative.
Derivative on top of the derivative, because it goes 0 to 0, 0 over 0, I think. Or something.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I miss that.
Yeah.
I miss L'Hopital.
So that's my story. So, you know, you might have a weird situation. I don't know how to suggest. I really avoided going to office hours after that. Because I'm like, I'm not going to report it.
I don't know how to give advice. I'm speechless right now.
You're what? Speechless? Yeah, me too. When I was sitting there, I was like, huh? I didn't even have the mask to cover my face. He probably knew. He was like, oh crap, I shouldn't have said that. He saw my face.
Yeah.
I like froze. I was like, oh God, what are you going to say? But
no.
yeah, so, but I would say if it's reoccurring and it makes you uncomfortable, then definitely report it to someone. That's my advice. But I was like, you know, it's a one-time thing. I was like, this guy, I knew he was just, it wasn't like weird, but I was just like, yeah. So that was funny. So go to office hours, but be wary. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, I made friends with my professors in office hours. Like, I don't know. I really think you should try to go to all your office hours if you can, and if you can't, touch base with them. Because you know what is another thing? Like, if you are consistently showing up in office hours, and if you are like a couple points away, or like a 0.003, 0.5 away from getting a grade like an A or a B or a C, whatever the next bump up is, and they know who you are, they are more likely to like work with you. If you sit in the back row, you barely ever go to class, you never go to office hours, you don't have study groups, you aren't participating, like, you're SOL. Like, I'm sorry, but they're not going to do much to help you out if you ask at the end of the year or at the end of the semester. I
completely agree. And, you know, we all have those semesters and those classes where you want to sit in the back. And there are classes I have done that. I was like, you know what? I don't want a connection with the teacher at all. Yeah. Like, I don't care. I'm just trying to get done with this class. So it's fine. It's normal. But also it helps with rec letters as well. Like, I'm sure, you know, if I asked that man, if I wanted a rec letter, he would have written me the best rec letter ever. But
yeah, probably.
He'd have been like, let me get that kid's right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're like, oh, personality's great.
Someone that I know. Yeah, definitely go to office hours. I would say kind of like along the lines of studying for classes. Definitely try to make study groups, and we have written down use whiteboards. Use whiteboards, please, because you are going to be doing so many problems. There were some times that I would use paper to study, but then you just throw all that paper away. Yeah, it's different.
It hits different. Going off of that, so also just find someone who has access to like a study area. So like, for example, I had access to, I had access because I was on exec for Theta Tau to, it was called the Skybox. So it was a really nice whiteboard on one side of the wall. It was like windows, like floor to ceiling windows. There was like 2 couches. It was like multiple study rooms, and we were only able to access it like if you were on an executive club. So I would always bring people in there, and like we would always study. Like we would pull all-nighters there. But I remember writing the Krebs.
And they have couches.
Yeah, I literally took naps, which was kind of weird though, because you hit 4 a.m. it's dark. People can definitely see inside if they're walking, like.
Yeah.
So, but you can't see outside, so it's like, it's fine. You're like, it doesn't exist. Because I'd be like so kind of nervous to walk home alone sometimes. Like, I know Oxford is like very small,
Yeah.
but I'm like, there are some days where I'm like, I could just sleep and then wake up really.
Or I would just creep myself out. I would be like, oh, someone's gonna get me. I better run home. And like, there was nobody there to get me. But
So I really liked that, because I would always bring, so that, like, going off of what Libby said about study groups, like, make, I feel like sometimes you don't have too many friends maybe in the same courses, but if you have a good solid few, you're going to find people that are always willing to, even if they're not in your major. Like Libby was not a mechanical engineer, but we always went to little study rooms together. And then I also had,
and like, you know what? A quick note on like study groups. I would challenge you, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, but I have no friends in my classes. Turn to the person next to you if you're in person and ask them what their name is. It is a scary but simple concept. And you know what? Seriously, like I challenge you to look down the row of people you're sitting in, form a group me, kind of treat it like a business meeting almost. Like you don't have to be friends with these people, but like get people together to study.
Exactly. And yeah, I also had access to like a little, like the back lab. Like I had access to 2 labs basically, and I remember we would study there sometimes too. But it was nice because like you have to have that access card to it, and like a lot of the people that were in my lab didn't use it. They would just go study at home or something. So I was like, oh, no one's gonna use it. There I will stay, smelling all the media. I said, oh my god, let me smell that. Let me smell the bioreactor. It smelled so bad.
Yum, 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 yum. Delicioso.
Awesome. Okay. So then another tip I had was regarding the calculator. So I would suggest use the same calculator that you are allowed to use on the exam for your homework or studying. For example, for my Gen Chem, I was only allowed to use the scientific calculator and not a graphing calculator, which we were allowed to use in engineering courses. So, it seems silly, but, what if you forget where the log is on the computer, like on the calculator when you're taking the exam?
Yeah.
Like you're used to muscle memory, on your graphing calculator, you go to the chem exam, you're like, where are you? Where are you hiding? So that's my suggestion.
And I have a quick story on calculators. If you have an exam to go to and it's like mandated, for example, the FE, make sure you doubly check that you have the correct calculator, because I thought I had the correct calculator. I saw my brand of calculator on the list of approved calculators. Nope, I didn't. So I showed up all ready to go with my calculator in hand, and they were like, Miss, you cannot use that. Which was fine. Like, they had a calculator on the screen that you could pull up, but that's just another note on calculators. Yeah. Make sure you can use them. Or, like, I know sometimes in classes, there are those calculators that are like mini computers. Like this, did you have
No,
one?
I didn't.
One of those ones that like the screen? Somebody had one that I would use. I don't remember whose it was. Maybe it was
Sophie?
Guy in my class. Okay, anyway, but
I
it
feel
was
like Sophie would have it.
Maybe it was Sophie. But like you could literally save. You could like go into the calculator and save functions. So like people would go in and just like save all the equations they needed to use. And if you couldn't use like a note card, like a little note card to have your equations on, people would do that. And so then professors, I think, started to catch on. They're like, no, you can't use that in the exam. So just make sure, and like you said, muscle memory, make sure it's the right one.
Yeah, and if you can't use a calculator when you're studying, don't use it, unfortunately. Like,
Yes.
It makes a big difference. So yeah, and then I also really liked, like, I would make Quizlets for, like, again, I talked about how I took these pre-med courses, which was, included a lot of memorization. So I did Quizlet on the treadmill, because I feel like I totally would give up. Like, I talked about how I work while walking on the treadmill. I feel like I just need to be doing something. Like, I was sitting there for too long, so that one was really fun for me, honestly. And I feel like now it's getting way more common, like, with everyone working from home, so they use the treadmill. I've seen people put treadmills in libraries at schools, so I feel like I was kind of always embarrassed to bring. Yeah, I was kind of embarrassed to bring my note cards to the jam, but I was like, okay, if I make a Quizlet, no one knows what I'm doing unless they look closely, which that's kind of weird. Don't look at me, you know?
And you could download the
So,
Quizlet app and you could just have it on your phone.
exactly. So that's what I did. So I was like, okay, at least I'm not like bringing the you know, hard copy of the flashcards, but maybe it looks like I'm on social media instead. So that's what I did. I don't know, just like keeping busy, like walking. Like when you get so fed up for just sitting there, you gotta just move around a little bit. So that's what I did.
Get some movement in. I loved Quizlet too. What? I just had a really good. Oh, I wanted to give a tip of if you are studying for exams and you don't know how to study, the way that I studied was I would redo all of the homework problems for that particular unit or like whatever units the exam was covering. So I would do all the homework problems, and then if we call them whiteboard problems in class. If we did whiteboard problems, a lot of times we'd do them as a class, and the professor would take a picture and like upload it to our Canvas. I would redo those problems, and then on top of that, like if I still felt like I wasn't prepared, I would go into the back of the book and look for problems in those sections that we hadn't done and try to do them. And then if I got stuck, that's what I would talk about in office hours with my professor. So I know like when I first started studying for engineering exams, I was like, how am I supposed to study? Because like, I don't know, when I was in high school, I didn't really study for math class exams a lot. I just didn't.
Yeah.
So then when I came to college, I was like, I don't know. Like it took me a second to get my study routine down, and eventually I found out that's what worked best for me.
Yeah, I feel like in high school it was always very small variations from like whatever we did in class, and then in engineering school it's like, okay, let me give you something completely new, and you have to apply like the thought process to that. But yeah, I completely agree with practice problems, practice problems, practice problems. Say that 3 times fast, lol. But that's definitely I agree. That was helpful in just like getting these practice problems and just doing them. Unfortunately, it's like very boring.
Yeah.
And honestly, okay, everyone bashes Chegg. I liked Chegg because you can understand how to solve it and then learn that process. I don't know. I liked it. It helped. Chegg. Yeah, it helped sometimes. Like everyone's like, don't use Chegg. I'm like, you know what? Use it. I mean, don't post like your homework on it and don't get caught. But it was honestly very helpful just to understand. And then if you don't understand that process, then I would go to office hours and say, you know, what's going on? What did you make up?
Yeah, that's so true. I would totally do that when I was. I'm gonna sneeze. Oh my god.
We're a mess today. We're such a mess.
Oh my god, should we make that a reel? Me sneeze? A TikTok?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I felt like I had like, oh my god. Okay, sorry. I don't even remember what I was saying. The sneeze just took over my whole body.
That's what it looked like from here too. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my god. We're keeping that.
I don't remember what I was saying. Yeah, practice problems are your best friend.
Okay. My last big one basically is planning out the prereqs. So I know we kind of talked about it's very hard to visualize, you know, these courses that we talked about, but one thing I wanted to touch on is that a lot of like the 300 level courses, you had to take specific 100 and 200 levels to be able to sit in that class or to enroll in it. So what I did, and this is on my old computer, I wish it was on this computer, but I had my little spreadsheet, which we have for you. I think we had the college course one. You know, send a review, we'll send it out to you. Or submit a Google form in our Instagram bio. But that's what I did, and because I did not want to get caught in the situation where I was not able to, you know, take a course or I had to stay longer, which was just so much money, especially if you're out of state, to do that. So I would recommend first thing you do, even, you know, if you're in the middle of your schooling right now, still plan it out. Nothing doesn't hurt, but to plan out just to understand what the prereqs are.
Yeah, and sometimes like you will have a professor that is your advisor, but they have so many students that they are advising, and sometimes they just like don't forget or like don't realize where you are in the coursework. So definitely do that, and then kind of another tip with like the advisor situation, because I know I did not like my advisor. If you find professors within your major that you vibe with particularly well, or you really like them, or you like their teaching style, like they are there to help you. And if you like them better than your advisor, and you can definitely reach out to them via email, set up an appointment, go through your coursework with them, see if they have advice. If they can't answer your questions, they're going to know the people that you can talk to get these questions answered of like, what classes should I take? What order should I take them in? That's what I did. Like I found a professor, a touchdown for Dr. Summers. He's the best professor at Miami for engineering courses. And I would just schedule meetings with him. And, not only would we go through coursework, but if I was struggling in classes, even if they weren't his classes, if he could provide advice, he would. And then when I was studying for the FE, I would bring problems to him and we would walk through them. So definitely try to make those professor relationships if there are ones that you particularly like.
Yes. Yes. I also didn't really have a good, I kind of figured it out on my own. One thing I wanted to talk about was at orientation, they kind of give you a fake schedule. So they're like, this is what's usually done. But you have like a little bit of leeway. If you're like overwhelmed one semester, you could push a course. It doesn't push you back too much. But again, that's where I liked having those prereqs and like understanding what classes were required, because like if you push a class, maybe you have to push 2 other ones next semester, which pushes you back like 2 semesters. So that I would definitely maybe see if your school has something like that, where it's like an example schedule of what the semesters kind of look like.
Yeah. Do you have any other tips to give the listeners as we close out this episode? I feel like this was packed with so much value.
I know this was a lot, so I hope it made sense. I know that like explaining what courses we took was, I feel like some of the titles people are gonna be like, what? If they're just starting out school.
Yeah.
But again, reach out if you have any questions. We have our email, mybestfriendsandengineer@gmail.com. We have our Instagram. We have our personal accounts.
It's back.
Yes,
our Instagram is back. I think in last episode we were talking about how our Instagram was down.
Yes, we got it back. So we're so happy about that. So go check it out. We started our book club, which that's also one thing that I wanted to touch on. This past week I've been reading it. I actually really like it. Like I haven't been
really good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I haven't been into like these self-help books. I usually like to read like fiction, like I don't know, just for fun. But I actually really like it. I was like, taking a page out of Libby's book with her little self-improvement books.
I got on this self-help book kick like probably 6 to 8 months ago, and I just cannot get enough of it.
I know.
I love it.
Yeah, so I like your posts. I'm gonna pay more attention to those now. Usually I just like them. I'm like, okay, like, and I'm like, let's see what she's reading. Let's see what she's all about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so definitely do that. Oh, and then join the Facebook group, because that's really where we're hosting this little book club full of women in male-dominated fields. Hopefully we can be helping people out in that regard.
Yes. All right. Where can they find you, though, if they want to reach out for some tips?
Yes, definitely reach out on my Instagram or my TikTok at Libby Beyond the Label. And like Lexi mentioned, if you guys have any specific questions that it's just easier to type out on a computer, reach out to our email. We're all about responding to emails with advice as well. Yes. Where can they find you?
They can find me at Engineer Lexi on Instagram and TikTok. I'm almost at 1,000, so we're gonna start doing this thing where we go live. I think on Mondays, so that we can answer any questions you have, or just talk about the podcast. So once I hit 1,000, we'll be there. We're close. Yes.
And then if you guys want to follow the podcast social media on Instagram and TikTok, it's at My Best Friends and Engineer, and YouTube is BFE Podcast.
Yes, it is.
All right, I think with that we can close out another episode.
All right, I'm Lexi.
And I'm Libby.
And thanks for listening
to
My Best Friends and Engineer. That was the best one for sure. That was good.
Oh, okay. We'll have to play it back. Watch it be terrible.
Thank you.